Well, okay, welcome to week 9. This is a big week, all right? You probably thought the annotated bib was big. This is bigger. Let me briefly go over the justification for the annotated bib, and of course I'm looking at them this week now. One of the whole points there was to help you get organized, all right? It gave you a chance to look at your sources and say, okay, how many sources do I have? How good are they really? All right, are they the right kinds of sources? That kind of thing. Plus, of course, it gave you a chance to get your citing under control in preparation for your works cited list or your references list. And it gives me a chance to see how well you're doing with citing. So if we need to play any catch up, anything you missed from W131, okay, I can tell you about it now so that when you turn in your paper, right, you won't get docked a lot of points for having a poor works cited list, all right? Okay, now this week you're doing what's called a literature review. In the past, I used to call this a iSearch paper. It's really a literature review. You're reviewing all of your sources. It could be the same ones that you had in your annotated bib. It doesn't have to be new sources or additional sources. So what I want you to do is actually look at your sources in detail now, well beyond summary. We're not doing summaries this time. You're actually reviewing what the source says. You're talking about it in a narrative fashion. Of course, you're using your best English, your best grammar, your best writing skills, your best paragraphs, your best topic sentences, and you even need to take some direct quotes from those sources because this is like pre-writing for your actual paper. You're basically going to write one page about each source. What's the source telling you? What is the material in there you think you might use for your paper? It's basically a narrative between you, the source, and me about what's going on. All right. So basically, you have 8 pages there for your literacy narrative, 1 on each source. All right. Now, once again, these sources have to be academic in nature. They have to be good, high-quality sources, not newspapers, not websites. Now, if you're going to have some newspapers, if you're going to have some websites, fine, write another page about them. But you have to have a minimum of 8 pages, about 8 quality sources, the same ones you had in your annotated bib. Okay, it's not rocket science here, all right, so not to confuse you. Now, that's the middle of the document, okay? The beginning of the document needs to be your thesis statement. But I suggest that you don't write your thesis statement until you've done the literature review part, until you've written these 8 pages of narrative about your sources. Okay? So that way, as you're writing about your sources, you can start thinking. See, this is all a brainstorming exercise. It's all a pre-writing exercise. It helps you kind of engage where you might be going with your paper by engaging your sources. So I would suggest kind of, as you're doing this narrative part, be thinking about what you want to say. You're going to kind of learn. See, you don't really know what you want to say until you've done all this reading, done all this writing. And sometimes it's not until the very end that you really understand what your thesis is. That's okay. That's fine. So go ahead and get the narrative part done. The 8 pages kind of referring to your thinking about your sources. Thinking out loud. Get that done. Then say, okay, see if I can write a thesis statement now. Now don't forget, I have some help in the lectures for this unit. It's very good help about writing thesis statement. So you will be judged on this, on the quality of your thesis statement. Okay. Then the last page, page 9 of this exercise, is simply a message from you to me, kind of a 3-way message. It's a message to yourself, a message to me about what you've learned. All right? What have you learned from these sources? What's the overall thing you've learned about your topic? And once again, this is pre-writing, this is brainstorming, this is letting you kind of think through where your paper might actually be going. This is not your paper, but it's all the pre-writing for your paper. It gets your paper going, it gets your thinking going. There's still some other steps you're going to do to help you think through your paper. You're going to do a PowerPoint, which is exactly the same thing as your outline for your paper. That's coming up. That's down the road a ways yet. Don't worry about that yet. Instead, be thinking about the literature review. Get this literature review done. So it's composed of 3 parts. I mentioned that. Thesis statement, the narrative, and then what you've learned. But don't do the thesis statement first. Do the thesis statement last. Again, the sources must be quality sources. They can be the same sources. They should be the same sources as your annotated bib. But make sure they're quality. If I caught you in your annotated bib, all right, using newspapers or websites, don't do that again in the literary narrative. That would be wrong. Now, if you'll look at item 6.4 in the learning module, you will see that I have criteria at the end of that, how this will actually be judged. It's very important that you look at that criteria. You'll notice I have points for your quality of your thesis statement, then I have points for your citing, I have points for your paragraph structure, points for use of quotes, points for surface features, that kind of thing. So please be sure to look at the rubric. Well, okay, I've enjoyed your company again this morning, of course, and get to work. And if you have any questions, naturally, let me know.